calling rebelling? I want you to explain to me what you mean by a rebellion.
The chief deputy had said in a meeting with district commanders, and I'm using terms, and if I'm using a term that you don't understand.
I understand.
Okay, the chief deputy is the second in command. He goes into a meeting with the district commanders. We have 5 districts, and all those people that run those districts hold the rank of captain, which would be three promotions removed from the chief. The chief comes into that meeting and says, we have an issue. The deputies are rebelling against this administration, and if a deputy stops a vehicle, the #1 priority under this administration right now is traffic stops, traffic enforcement. That's it. Well, if traffic enforcement is the #1 priority, what about our houses that are being burglarized when mommy and daddy's going to work? That's where we're being violated. That's where the greatest issue is. Someone getting stopped for speeding over the speed limit by a little bit. Is that really what's the most important thing? Do we really need 5 or 6 deputies out there accomplishing that task right now as compared to patrolling and trying to be a deterrent to crime? I don't think so. In my opinion, I would say no. That being the case, the chief said that the crime or that the traffic enforcement is the #1 priority. To a degree that if a deputy stops a car and that person was in our database to have had a written warning in the past, you will give them a ticket. The deputy will give them a ticket. Totally goes against everything that law enforcement stands for in the fact of officer discretion. If I stop a vehicle, if you had a written warning for being on 75 8 months ago, and I stop you for a stop sign, you crank through the stop sign on a right-hand turn, which is all too frequent, and I stop you, and you say, officer, I'm so sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I'm actually going to an editorial board, so I was looking at the time, I apologize. I would look to you and say, sir, absolutely. I understand. Please be safe. Have a good day.
Excuse me, Mr. Fisher. I think just to build upon Luz's question, how are the deputies demonstrating their revolt? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Because they're writing written warnings instead of tickets. The deputies know that the citizens are hurting right now in these bad economic times. What is being proven by writing a citation that's going to cost a citizen money? Mm-hmm. The deputies have a good handle on the law enforcement. It's the administration that does not.
Mr. Fisher. Oh, go ahead.
So are you saying that the rebellion is about traffic ticket issuing policies?
Right, because they're being mandated to stop vehicles. They're being mandated to write tickets now. That takes away officers' discretion. When an officer stops a car, he can do any of 3 things. Give you a written warning, give you
I got that, but what about I thought you were talking about a broader internal rebellion of some sort.
Well, the rebellion is manifested through that. The rebellion is that through the fear and intimidation, such as the paper that you folks have generated on the article about fear and intimidation. That's what it is. That's what he's doing right now in controlling. When people are supporting my campaign and they're being transferred and manipulated, he's not affecting me, but he's affecting all those around, trying to break the hearts and the spirits of those who want to support me in my campaign. That is through fear and intimidation.
Who's being transported and manipulated?
A captain was transferred from a watch commander position, which he was in charge of 15 lieutenants and 5 sergeants, and was placed in the jail, and he is responsible for 4 deputies. That is not good justification of being a fiscal conservative in the fact that you're not getting, as a taxpayer, a work product that is deserving of a 27-year veteran who has more homicide experience than anybody else probably in the agency.
And is this person who's transferred, that you're saying who's transferred, is he a supporter of yours?
Yes. And then another lieutenant was transferred from a day shift position where she was in support of a district and was transferred to a watch commander spot simply because she's married to the union president for the postal union, that I got that endorsement on a Sunday, and she's transferred Monday morning.
Mr. Fisher.
Of which Mike Scott got those endorsements in 2004, and I'm getting them now.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Well, I have already declared for Mike Scott. Would you prefer that I did not ask you any questions because of that?
No, I want to answer any questions you have,
I
sir.
don't want you to be upset and think that you were taken advantage of,
No,
and I won't take advantage of it.
I appreciate that, sir.
I've spoken to a number of people about you.
Yes, sir.
Having been here 27 years, I know a lot of people, and I discuss issues and things like that with them. And everybody I spoke to likes you.
Yes, sir.
They're in favor of you. But the great majority will not vote for you. And the reason that they will not vote for you, that they tell me, is because they say you are in bed with the union, and they don't like that. They want somebody who is running the agency, who is totally in control of the taxpayers' money. And they're very unhappy about that. What do you think about that?
I am not in bed with anybody. I'm supporting the deputies because the deputies are trying to cry out to the citizens of Lee County that they believe that Mike Scott has a heavy hand and is running this agency through fear and intimidation. So because of that, they unionize. What I would encourage the citizens of Lee County is let's look at the rationale. For 124 years, Lee County has never had any unions. Mike Scott has had 2 voted in on him. The deputies are screaming out, he's not fair. The way that he runs the agency is not fair.
That's their opinion.
Absolutely.
They are certainly entitled to it.
Absolutely.
What is your impression of chain of command management?
Chain of command management
Right.
means that,
We had that in the military.
absolutely, of which I also was in the
We had
military.
generals and
Absolutely.
sergeants and
Absolutely.
so on and so forth. And I don't know of any instances where a sergeant tells the general what to do. He might make a suggestion.
You are correct.
Well, what do you think of chain of command management?
Well, right now, it's not like it used to be in law enforcement. We have certainly seen a pendulum swing in the fact it's not paramilitary the way that it used to be. Even in my career, starting in 95 here, 94 in Pennsylvania, it's not that way where people blindly follow because we have people called human beings that we hire. You got X and Y generation that are all about questions. What needs to happen, as I see it as a leader, is every once in a while, the leader needs to remove himself, not listen just to the people that he surrounded himself with, because sometimes you get yes people that are going to tell you what you think you want to hear. As a leader, I don't want to hear that. I want to know the truth. If I'm messing up, I want to address whatever issues I need to address so that I'm not messing up. That being the case, every once in a while you need to remove yourself from the upper echelon and get down and talk to the deputies. That's what you need to do. You can't fix it as a leader if you don't know it's broken. Paramilitary organizations in and of themselves are destined for failure simply because a colonel who is in between a chief and a major is not going to tell the chief, just so you know, I'm a terrible leader. Didn't know if you know that, but I'm a terrible leader. He's not going to do that. So anything that he sees as a deficiency in his character, he's not going to allow the chief deputy to see that. So as everything should flow up, it doesn't. So the sheriff can't fix what he doesn't know is broken. He knows it's broken, and I can prove that. I can prove that by an action. An exit interview. An exit interview is not done by a command staff officer. I believe that a sheriff, if all goes well and my schedule allows, I want to interview someone who wants to leave our agency. Attrition rate now is higher than it's ever been, and he wants to present it as utopia. If the attrition rate wasn't so high, I would agree with some of your observation. But the actions far outweigh the words. That being the case, if you are the leader, you do the exit interview. What's wrong? What's broken? What can I change? What can I adapt?
Let me ask you one more
That's
question.
not being done. A civilian's doing that, actually. It's not even anyone from command.
Let me ask you one more law enforcement question. You worked 17 years.
Yes, sir.
As a police enforcement officer in Lee County.
Yes, sir.
We are now in the midst of a serious problem in Dunbar. Can you fix that problem? And if so, how would you do it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't alienate Doug Baker. I wouldn't go and Chief Baker. I wouldn't go. The sheriff's already said, well, those crimes are happening in Fort Myers. Well, guess what? Fort Myers is in Lee County. What I would do if I was the leader is I would have been calling Chief Baker, Chief, what assets, what help, what collaboration can we do together to accomplish this task?
So you think that's the reason why this problem has grown to the proportions that it has? Because he won't speak to Chief Baker?
I'm thinking that that certainly is a contributing factor. I think that would be at least on the path to trying to figure out and suppress the crime,
But
at
what
least
would
if
you-
we're
what would
working
you do
together.
to correct that problem?
I would go ahead and create a task force, and I would get the deputies to work with the Fort Myers police officers and figure out a task force together, bring our resources and assets together so we can see what kind of influx and what kind of suppression we can actually make. Right now, that's not happening. They're fighting at the top. The deputies and the officers are more than willing to work together, but they can't because the top is fighting.